Well, this is more typical weather in Wales. It's raining and it's quite breezy, and I'm standing by the gate at the end of my garden, and I'm going to go for a bit of a walk, and it would be lovely if you would like to join me. Ounce is here. He's part of the reason I've decided to come for a walk just now. I was thinking of driving down to the woods when I woke up and saw just how windy it was. I've been napping this afternoon. I woke up, I saw just how windy it was. I thought perhaps this wouldn't be the place to make this week's podcast. I thought it might be quieter and a little drier amongst the trees at the woods, but Ounce looks so eager to come for a walk. If he's going to come now. I think he probably will. That I thought I would just brave the elements and come for a walk here. Hello, it's Friday. It's the 14th of September 2018, and this is the fourth Go Gently video podcast and the 1425th episode of One Thing Today. I get quite excited as the time rolls round to record the next video podcast. I'm really enjoying making these podcasts, and they're sort of getting me out a bit as well. More regular walking. Today has been a very, very slow day. It's been a very slow week this week. I've been very tired. On Saturday this week we had our last summer school class, and I felt quite wiped out since we finished summer school. It's not really finished. I'm hoping that we'll all be pondering away for the rest of the month, but I'd hoped to get this week's work session, which we held on Saturday, the edited replay, up on the website, and I haven't done it yet, and it's almost a week since we finished. So definitely a very slow week, but there's been progress. If you've been listening to my audio podcasts, you'll know that I finally seem to have organised my studio. It's not completely finished, but it feels much, much nicer and much friendlier place to be. So I'm enjoying being in there as well, though actually I'm curled up on the sofa quite a lot. But today was a day for mostly being indoors. I've been sitting on the sofa downstairs, and then latterly I went back to bed for a sleep and had a nap, quite a deep nap, but actually not terribly long. And I do hope you can hear me okay. I'm wearing my fluffy microphone cover, so I'm hoping that the wind won't make it too difficult to understand and hear me. And there, I've lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Not to worry. Oh gosh, I'm walking the back way up to the top of the hill and around, almost the opposite direction that I was walking with you last week. And actually this is much more of a challenge, walking and talking, because I'm going uphill, but I'm managing actually, which I think means the chest infection that I've had for a little while now seems to have improved significantly. So it's unfitness, out of breathness, I think, rather than anything else. So that's okay. And you can see how grey and cloudy it is. The weather is towards the west now. This is the direction the weather comes from. So yeah, more rain is on the way. Let's keep climbing, but not as much rain and weather as people in the Carolinas are having. I've a friend who I'm hoping is able to watch today, who lives actually in Wilmington, which I think is pretty much where Hurricane Florence has landed, and she's been very much in my thoughts these last few days, and I do hope that things are going as well as they possibly can there. We're very lucky here in Wales. Whilst we do get lots of days much like this, breezy, windy days, we don't really get too much in the way of extreme weather. Well, apart from our rather hot summer. Nearly at the top of the hill. Gosh, the rain is actually getting quite heavy, and Ounce I think has chickened out. I can see right at the bottom of the hill. Normally he would come up with me. He's very sensible. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut through this gate here and head down to the horizontal trees. I've brought a flask of tea with me, and I was planning, assuming it's reasonably sheltered, to sit there with my flask of tea today and have a little bit more of a chat to you there. I had thought I'd climb a little higher before I came down, but I'm not going to. And probably I'll be surprised as I get down to the horizontal oaks. But oh my goodness, that's very lovely. I suspect you're hardly going to be able to hear me at this stage. What I was going to say was, you can hear me. I wouldn't be surprised if I get down to the horizontal oaks whether Ounce actually will cut across and join me, which will be nice. There's the first of the roots of the first horizontal oak tree, and a little bit further behind that is the one I usually sit at. Just being a little bit careful because I'm using one hand to hold the camera and the other to cup the microphone in the hope that you'll be able to hear me. Well, I've made it to the horizontal oak, so well, I think the wind has calmed down a little bit, so I'm hoping that you can hear me. Ounce chickened out. He was sitting at the bottom of the hill. I wondered if he would, when I got to the oak trees, whether he would come and sit with me, but he hasn't appeared yet. So maybe it would have been better if I'd just taken that drive down to the woods to record the podcast down there. But never mind, here I am. I hope you've had a good week. It's been a quiet week, a very slow week. I don't know how much you would have heard. I was recording the first bit of the podcast. I was walking here. I was talking a bit about my slow week and how I've not really been able to do very much since we finished summer school on Saturday. And today particularly I spent mostly either on the sofa or in bed, but I woke up from quite a deep nap, feeling a bit more energetic, so I thought I would just come out and record the first part of this week's video podcast. I thought last week recording across 2 days worked quite well. I think it was a much better idea than trying to get everything recorded and uploaded and edited in one day. And I might even, as time goes on, spread these podcasts out across a number of days rather than try and get everything done even within 2 days. So we will see. I think, as it's so windy, perhaps it's time to stop. Not the most successful wander and chat today, but never mind. You've seen a little bit of my surroundings and the grey sky, and well, what is much more typical weather here in Wales. And it's lovely to talk to you, but I think I'm going to take my tea back to my studio and drink it there rather than try and drink it here in the wind. I shall see you in a little while for a work session. You definitely picked the sensible spot to stay in, didn't you? Are you coming home with me? Come on. Let's go home. I've made it back to my studio. Alex has very sensibly gone back in the house and got back on my bed and is curled up asleep. I've been here for a little while just going through the footage that I recorded, wondering whether you'd be able to hear a word that I said. Actually, it's not too bad. I'm going to use it. Not the best videoing and recording I've ever done, but I think it'll do. So forgive the sound of the wind. And also I noticed that I don't know why I was doing it, I was holding the camera very close to my face when I was sitting at the horizontal oak trees. And I thought I had to speak closely to the camera, but actually it was my microphone that was more important. Never mind. This is a learning process, and it's all an experiment. Welcome to my studio. It's lovely to have you back here, and this week it actually feels really, really nice in here. The sun's just come out. That's actually had a walk an hour later. And it just looks beautiful outside, but also it's nice and cosy and warm in here. And it's just tidy. There's still piles of stuff. I think it was yesterday's podcast. No, it wouldn't be Thursday's podcast, which is actually yesterday as I'm recording. Anyway, never mind. In a recent podcast, I was saying that some of these piles perhaps will just have to stay here, actually. Perhaps the piles are what they are. But generally, I have a nice desk in front of me, and I have my plan chest cleared. My typewriter gets to live on the plan chest now. That feels good. So yeah, I feel feels good. It feels nice to be in here. And I get used to the slightly higher desk here as well. So there we are. Would you like to join me for a 20-minute work session? I've got a couple of crocheting projects with me. I've just got on my purple sock, which I'm making very slow progress with. I've just got to the ribbing, and I've actually just established the ribbing. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to crochet and maybe chat a little bit. But it took an awful lot of concentration to establish the ribbing. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to be able to chat and crochet. And I quite liked the occasional bit of chatting during the work session last week. I've also got some squares, or a square, for a blanket I'm working on. If I find that I have problems working on the sock, I can always work on the blanket. I also might run out of wool for the sock. I hope I don't, but there we are. Anyway, let's set the time for 20 minutes. I hope you've got something lined up that you're looking forward to doing. There we go. Actually 21 minutes on the clock, which is probably like really 20 minutes. And let's do a little bit of work. In my head, I crochet much faster than I do in the real world. These socks are definitely, this must be the third week I'm working on this sock, but yeah, I've just sort of started the ribbing. And I'm not sure, I'm not going to have enough wool of this left for the heel, so I'm not sure what I'm doing with the heel yet. This yarn, this wool, was the remains of what I worked on my previous sock. These were the body of the sock, and I use a different wool for the toes and the heel and the ribbing. And I thought, because I had two 50-gram balls of it, that this would actually be enough for the toe, the heel, and the ribbing of these socks. But it's not. I don't think. I'm not even sure there's going to be enough to finish the ribbing. We will see. But let's just actually do some of it rather than talk about it. I think it's probably a not hat day in the studio. I've made a slight rod for my own back here, because not only is ribbing confusing, I'm doing it with this variegated wool, which makes it really quite hard to see. But, that's a mistake already, but also it'll be really hard to see my mistakes. So that's alright. Now a bit nervous of ribbing, but when I get into the swing of it, I actually really enjoy it. So maybe, let's see, maybe I can get into the swing of it today, we will see. I'm still thinking such a lot about my way forward with work. And I'm just sitting with it, which is good, I think. It's a bit of a challenge. I'm the sort of person who likes to make decisions and, well, likes to have them made. And this year, I've just had to accept that, I just noticed I made a mistake here on the last round, but I'm just going to ignore it. Yeah, just have to accept that for the time being, I just haven't got all the answers. And I keep trying ideas on, and seeing how they feel. And often they feel quite good for a while, and then they don't anymore. So I just have to wait and trust that eventually everything will become clear, and I sort of think it will. I sort of think it will. My clock stopped ticking. So it's been an interesting week. I'm very tempted to say I've not done much, but actually, particularly in here, it feels like things have moved on quite a lot. It feels really nice to feel more comfortable in here. It's been a long time coming. And is just a bit of an example, I suppose, of trusting that things will sort themselves out. I didn't really think they were going to. I thought I was going to be living with chaos. But quite suddenly, actually, one day during the week, and I can't remember which day it was now, was it Thursday? Wednesday, I think. Suddenly something changed. I just set the timer for 20 minutes and did a little bit of sorting. And then later in the day, did a little bit more. And the next morning when I came out here, things felt completely different. It was fantastic, so I'm very happy about that. One thing I do feel really clear about is that these video podcasts are part of, or going to be central to, what I do as I move forward. And that feels like a bit of an anchor, I think, having that decided, and other things are just sort of working themselves out around that. And some things I've not let myself think before. Things like perhaps finishing my One Thing Today podcast after 7 years sort of suddenly feel possible. So I don't know if that's what I'm doing yet, but it's something I'm letting myself think. And it does feel so good. Oops. It does feel so good to feel like there is a little bit of movement and a bit of possibilities at the moment after this year of feeling very, very sort of stuck and stagnant and sort of waiting really for something to change or ideas to start to arrive and you know having to trust that they will. It's rather heartening that actually they have. What if this is going to be a complete mess? I mean, when I say this, I mean this ribbing. Actually, I don't know. I think it's sort of all right. Sort of. Anyway, as I say, this yarn will hide a multitude of mistakes as long as they fit. Well, actually, as will my trousers. Won't they? People don't really take a terribly close look at one's socks, do they? Nope. I'd love to hear what you're working on during these sessions. If you're watching this on YouTube, please, please, please don't be shy about leaving a comment below and letting me know what you're doing for these 20 minutes. Oh, now then, this is a confusing bit again. I think I do need to, I think I'm going to have a sip of tea and ponder that stitch and just, yeah. Has tea made it clearer? Not yet. Actually, perhaps it has. Perhaps it has. And one of the lovely things about crocheting is that it's really easy just to go back a couple of stitches. I remember when I was knitting socks, I was absolutely petrified of making mistakes. And with crocheting, it doesn't seem to matter quite so much, or perhaps my attitude to it has changed. Wow, it sort of looks right. Sort of. if this is good. Well, it might be just about enough. Yes, this join is a bit of a mess. Never mind. Never mind. When I was first practicing socks, I was using some really chunky wool and a big hook, and the mistakes showed up much more. But it's actually really hard to see them, I think. Yes, so I'd love to hear what you're doing. Let me know below what you're working on in these 20-minute sessions. Have you got an ongoing project that you're dipping into on a regular basis? Have you got something that sort of feels central to what you want to do that you can do in these 20-minute sessions? Over the years, I've sort of realised that 20-minute sessions work best for some things and perhaps not as well for others. When I first started doing this, I thought that, and sort of teaching around this idea of working in 20-minute chunks of time, that I thought you could probably make it work with almost any sort of project. But I think the truth is it works best with things that, well, can easily be started and stopped, obviously, because it's only 20 minutes. But within that, sort of quite small things that then perhaps can fit together in bigger projects. So perhaps, for instance, it's not really a great way to write a novel. Though unless that novel perhaps is made up of really short chapters, sort of an episodic novel, sort of Dickens or Armistead Maupin or something. Perhaps that would work quite well. But drawing used to work really well for me. I used to... It sort of shaped how I drew as well. So I would... And drawing was the thing I was doing when I first started working in 20-minute chunks of time. So I would make a drawing, and I would often just draw objects. So I would draw something in the first 20-minute session, and then in the second one, I would probably scan it before I had an iPad and worked digitally that way. I would scan it and colour it in Photoshop, and that was two really nice stages that worked really well. And when I wrote my book, Drawing Your Life, that was also done in the same way. I just spent, I did a 20-minute, I had a 2-page spread, and I would work out how I could do it in 20-minute chunks. So probably a spread, well, actually, it probably took quite a lot of 20 minutes, some of them. But so if there was a drawing on that spread, that drawing would have been probably done in 2 20-minute chunks of time. And I might do some writing in another 20-minute chunk of time. Design and layout as well could have fitted quite nicely within that sort of space. Did take a long time. I think it took about 6 months. Whereas how I had been working before that with blogging was, so I would draw, I would colour, and I'd write a blog post. And they were 3 distinct activities that fitted really nicely in 20-minute chunks. But crocheting does, definitely. That's a mistake, so I'm making more mistakes, I think, because I'm talking. But it's probably quite nice practice. What I want to be able to do is just to be able to do this without thinking too much. And actually practicing talking and doing it is really good. For a long time, all I did was crochet squares for blankets. And this week, I picked up a square because it felt like I didn't want to. I can't remember what I was doing or why I was doing it. For some reason, I was tired, and I thought working on the sock, and I probably got to this point where I was starting the ribbing. Felt just too much, so I thought I'd just pick a square up. And it felt so easy. It felt so easy because it was just easier than this. And it was big. I'm using a really big hook for it too, which is lovely. So I make really quick progress as well. So that's been nice. So yes, perhaps sock ribbing will one day just feel as easy as knitting, as crocheting a square feels now, which is lovely. And that is after. I mean, I've probably been crocheting squares. I mean, not all the time, but you know, I started. That's 3 years ago. A friend taught me how to crochet, and I've made one blanket in that time, and a smaller baby blanket for one of my nephew's children, and then this other blanket which I'm working on now. So I've got a long way to go with crocheting, but I am really, really enjoying it. And I love that I'm letting myself just enjoy doing it and not feeling like I need to be doing something else at the moment. And it's okay to be doing it and not be brilliant at it, or even very good. Not even very good at all. I wonder if this has been a mistake as well, actually. Maybe not. I'm listening to a new, well, it's not a new Agatha Christie, because obviously she's not writing new books anymore, but a new Poirot adventure written by, Sophie, I can't remember her surname. She's written, this is the third Poirot she's written. And this one's really good. I feel quite grabbed by it. So I've got the audiobook on the go for that. A lot of audiobooks I listen to at night before I go to sleep, and they help me nod off. And I really don't want to nod off with this one, so I'm saving it for during the day. So it's quite a good crocheting companion. When I was just getting this ribbing established earlier on today, I was sitting in bed listening to this Agatha Christie. It's called, I can't remember what it's called. Is it a 3/4 mystery? Something like that. I'll pop a link in the notes, both for the video version and the audio version of this podcast if you're interested. But I love Agatha Christie. I mean, I've read them all. So it's rather nice that someone is making new ones. Ooh. Well, I didn't need to worry about running out of wool or running out of ribbing because I haven't got very far in 20 minutes, but there we are, that's all right. A little bit of progress. I was so impatient to finish that first pair of socks because I really wanted them done, and actually I'm really just enjoying, which is lucky, I'm really just enjoying doing these. There we are. Tiny bit of yarn left, hopefully enough. I've got to get, I think it's 2 inches of 2 inches of ribbing, and I've got I've got an inch and a quarter. Well, we'll see. I shall think creatively about what yarn to use. I'm sorry I didn't bring it out. I did get some more cheap yarn from the charity shop that I showed you last time. Not the shop, but I showed you the yarn last time. I got another big cone of quite a deep red this time. So maybe I can incorporate that when I run out of wool for this. There we are, time to stop. I hope you've had a good 20 minutes. I hope that it feels like you've moved things on a little, that showing up perhaps just during these podcasts once a week feels like it moved things on a little for you, but maybe you can establish a gentle, regular 20-minute creative routine, perhaps by listening in to the audio podcast, or maybe just making some time yourself every day. Or not every single day. I think you definitely need a break. 5 days a week, 4 days a week, I think is really good. Just show up, set the timer, and do a little gentle work. Take care. Thank you very, very much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I'd be very grateful if you would share it with somebody, let them know about it. Just tell one person. That would be fantastic. And also, this is very YouTube. Hit the like button, and of course, if you haven't already, subscribe. It would be lovely to have you join me on a regular basis. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.